Okay, Marion.
Then I think we'll go ahead and start. Caroline, can you continue admitting people?
Of course.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Marion Matke. I am the program coordinator, education coordinator for the program in clinical effectiveness. And I'm very excited that you are all joining us tonight for our info session. We have a few faculty members. I'd like to also introduce you to Caroline Walsh. She and I are together the administrators for the course. So any emails you send to the program in clinical effectiveness inbox, you will probably hear from the two of us, and any questions you have, we always try to answer for you. This is my first year doing the PCE, so I refer a lot to Dr. Fran Cook and to Caroline, who has been on her second year now. But I'm excited to learn with you as we go along. And with that, I'll hand it off to Fran.
Well, first of all, Caroline, do you want to say anything about yourself and introduce yourself?
Hi, yeah, as Marion mentioned, I'm her colleague and I've been working the PCE for 2 years. So second year virtual. So it will be interesting now that we've got kind of the feel for it. So, but I look forward to hearing from everybody. On to Fran.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Fran Cook. I'm a semi-retired epidemiologist, but one of the few things I have not retired from is the program in clinical effectiveness. I'm a co-director and a faculty member of the program. I've been involved in the program since its beginning, which was 35 years ago. So I'm sort of like the historian of the group. And I'll be showing you a few slides tonight and hopefully being able to answer your questions. I'm joined tonight by 4 of our faculty members, maybe a 5th. Heather Baer, John Orav, Dan Singer, and Dave Bates. I don't know if Arnie Epstein is with us or not. So I'm going to ask each of them to say a few words, introduce themselves before we start our little slideshow. So let me start off with Heather, since you're the closest picture in my grid I'm looking at here. So
great, thanks, Fran. Hi, everybody. I am Heather Baer. I lead EPI 208, which is Introduction to Epidemiology, which is one of the core courses in the program in clinical effectiveness. I've been the director now, it's going on my 4th year, but I've been involved in the course for around 10 years now. And I am an associate epidemiologist in the Division of General Internal Medicine and Primary Care at the Brigham. So that's the same division as Fran and John and Dave Bates as well. Should I pass it over to John Orav to introduce himself next?
Sure.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Fran. John Orav, I'm biostatistician within the division. Been with the program pretty much as long as Fran has been, and I teach the morning biostatistics courses. Danny?
Hi, I'm Danny Singer. I've been with the program for multiple decades. I'm a clinical epidemiologist based at Mass General Hospital. And I directed EPI 208 for a number of years, and now I have the pleasure of helping Heather direct EPI 208, and I run the research seminar during the academic year.
And Dave?
I'm David Bates. I'm the chief of the Division of General Medicine and one of the co-directors of the program. I'm a graduate of the program, and I've been involved with it for not as long as Fran and John. They taught it when I was taking it.
Okay, and what Dave mentioned as the division chief, he is Heather, John, and my boss. So he's a former student. I hope we gave him a decent grades when he took the class as students. So maybe someday you guys might be our future boss of some of the faculty here. So we'll try to be nice to you. Okay, Arnie, is Arnie around? Does anyone know? Okay. So why don't we, maybe he'll join here. So tonight, guys, as I say, I'm going to show some slides. I'm going to be spending most of the time answering any questions you have. If you have questions, there's going to be a few ways you can address them to us. You can type them into a chat room. There's a raise your hand option in that you should have at the bottom of your screen if you're a Zoom knowledgeable person, or when time comes to asking questions, we'll just say you can unmute yourself. You have a icon on the bottom left of your screen, actually two of them. One looks like a microphone. Right now there's a line going through it, meaning you're muted. If you click on that later, you'll be unmuted and you can just speak up. And there's also a camera icon there that controls your video. It was X'd out when you came on. You can always unexit if you want to show us your face if you're going to be asking a question later. So we want this to be very informal. The slides I'm going to be showing, I'm going to go through fairly quickly, but to spend more time addressing hopefully any questions you have. So what I'm going to do is try to share my screen, and I'll ask Heather or John or Danny or Dave if they see the screen I'm showing. Any luck, guys? Do you see it?
Oh, yeah, that's okay.
Okay, thank you. Unfortunately, there's some Zoom line that's blocking me from showing it full screen for some reason. So hopefully that'll go away soon, but I'm going to keep it in this size right now. We've gone through the introductions, and this is annoying that I can't control the bottom of my screen, but and show you a full screen of this. Oh, that's a shame. If I try this and then I do this. Okay, that looks much better. We've gone through introductions. What I'm going to be showing in these slides are
Fran, just 1 second. Marion, I hope so. There was a message that there's a bunch of students in another Zoom session.
Oh, that's not a good.
I just saw that. The only explanation I have is that this is the first link, and regretfully, I do not have access to this anymore because Harvard took my Harvard Zoom away.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Well, just tell them by emails later when they email that we'll give them a recording. We apologize for this.
Yep.
It sounds like there's nothing you can do. Okay, when I was the deputy chair of the Epi department at the School of Public Health, every March I had the task of, when we had open house for newly admitted students, to give them a little pep talk for why you should come to Harvard to study epidemiology and not go to Hopkins or North Carolina or Michigan or other good programs. I'd like to do the same thing. I'm going to try to brag a little bit about the program in clinical effectiveness, because some of you haven't decided yet if you're going to be taking our summer program. I understand you have until mid-April to send in a deposit. So we hope you take our program. And part of our dealing tonight is to tell you why you should take the program. And then we'll open it up to questions in the second part of tonight. So why take the program in clinical effectiveness? I'm going to present 5 or 6 reasons why you might want to consider that. First is the history of the program. We started in 1987, so we've been around for 35 years. And I could make an argument that I think maybe we've got the system, the program right by now. We've enrolled, close to 4,000 students so far. A little bit more than half of our students come back for additional training in a second summer. So a lot of our students go on for degrees at Harvard and come back a second summer. We're mainly drawing people from the Harvard teaching hospitals, but about a quarter of our students come from outside of Boston. And just like this year, we have a number of very gifted, qualified students from other places in the States and from international locations also. That improves the diversity of our program, and I think it's a big plus of our program. This is just a bar chart showing how many students we've enrolled every year. It grew almost linearly for a number of years, and it's peaked up by about around 150, 160 students in our program every year. Last year, we had 142 students because we were totally online. This year, we anticipate we'll have a little bit more than that. I suspect we'll be closer to 150, 160 students this year. We'll see. It depends how many of you guys decide to take us up on our offer. Another reason to take the program in clinical effectiveness is the curriculum, the number of the diversity and the breadth of coursework that we offer to our students in the summer. If you take our program, I can tell you this is what you'll be doing in the mornings. In the morning for the full 6 weeks is a course in epidemiology that Heather and Danny teach. They can answer questions about it tonight if you want. I should add that we're going to be having another information session in May that talks about all of our courses in detail, but we're happy to answer questions tonight. We also, in the summer, we also have a second course you'd be taking in the mornings, which is the biostatistics courses taught by John Orab and Brian Healy this year. I just want to point out that these two courses, epidemiology and biostatistics, are different from the epi and biostat courses that are probably offered at the other times during the year. They're very integrated with one another and they are very applied. For example, in the epidemiology course, you'll be essentially designing a study and writing a study protocol, essentially looking like a grant application. In biostatistics, you'll be learning a computer package. We give you a few options to choose from, and you'll be analyzing data using that computer package. So it's a very applied series of courses that we offer in the morning. This is the core of our program in clinical effectiveness epidemiology program in clinical effectiveness curriculum. But in the afternoon, we have a series of other courses that we offer as electives. There'll be 11 of them this year. I just put the titles of them down here. Again, we'll have a meeting in May to talk more about these courses in detail, but we might be able to answer any questions you have about them tonight if you have any. Traditionally, every student in the program in clinical effectiveness took both of our morning courses and took one of the afternoon courses in the summer 1 period and one of the afternoon courses in the summer 2 period for a full course load of 15 credits. Because we will be online this summer as we were last summer, we know that for some of you there is Zoom fatigue, for some of you might have clinical responsibilities, maybe related to the pandemic. So we would allow you to take less than 15 credits this summer if that suits you. We gave that to the option last summer to students. More than 90% of our people took the full course load of 15 credits, but close to 10% chose to take 12.5 credits or 10 credits. We will give you a certificate for attending the program in clinical effectiveness if you take at least 10 credits. You don't have to take the full course load of 15 credits this summer. And if any of you already have had training in epidemiology and biostatistics and feel that our morning courses might be too redundant with your previous training, we do offer some advanced epidemiology and statistics courses in the summer for returning students. In summer 1, we have essentially a course that covers analytical issues of epidemiology research. We have a survival analysis course in the mornings in the summer 2 session. Last year, we had 2 people who had previously trained in epi and biostat and thought the morning courses might be redundant. They took these advanced courses in place of those core courses, along with some elective courses, and again, received a certificate for the program in clinical effectiveness. But we'll have another meeting, as I say, in May that goes into details about these courses, but we'll be happy to answer questions tonight if you have them. I just want to I mentioned the applied nature of our program. We did a survey of our graduates.
Givers, for example.
If you could.
It takes lots of.
Mute yourself, guys, if you are joining us. We did a survey of our program after 20 years. Danny Singer and one of his fellows oversaw this. And we found, for example, that close to 50%, 43% of the people received grant funding from the projects they developed in the morning epidemiology course. And about 2/3 of those projects that were designed in epidemiology went on for publication. And we found similar positive feedback in terms of our afternoon electives. They are equally applied in their nature. People received grant funding for projects they did in the afternoon courses, and many of them led to publications. So we think we have a very strong curriculum to offer you if you decide to take the program in clinical effectiveness. Our graduates have gone on and done great things. In that same survey, we asked people what they were currently doing. This was 20 years into our program, 15 years ago. I'm assuming that many more of our people have progressed into higher level positions like this. But you can see many of our graduates have gone on to do great things. And just as an aside, last November, when President Biden created his advisory board for the COVID-19 pandemic in our country, there were 16 members on that board, and 2 of them were graduates of the program in clinical effectiveness. And maybe the best measure of our graduates is the newly appointed head of the CDC. Dr. Walensky is a graduate of our program, and I believe helped in our introductory epidemiology courses and had sent many fellows to our program from her position at Mass General Hospital before she went on to take control of the CDC. Another reason for considering taking our program is our courses receive very high ratings from their students. And we also ask our students to rate our program on a 5-point scale. There are 2 questions we ask them every year. Would you enroll in this program again if you were to make the decision? Again, this is asked at the end of the summer. And were you satisfied with the curriculum? And I just put the last 2 years of numbers here. In 2019, this was typical. About 90% of the people, more than 90% of the people would say they agreed or strongly agreed. More than 80% strongly agreed with those statements. Last year, the ratings, even though we're online, were a little bit higher, which means that this year when we're online, I suspect we'll be able to deliver a better online experience for the instructor, for the students, because we're able to do it, I think, very well last year. So I think, we have the curriculum, and the students seem to appreciate it. Our faculty, many of our faculty have been with us for many, many years. Even John and I mentioned we've been here since the beginning. Just as an aside, every year the school gives an award, the Roger L. Nichols Excellence in Teaching Award, to one of the faculty members of the school. The last 8 years, that award was given to 4 of our PCE faculty. So we have, in some sense, maybe the best of the best faculty from the Harvard School of Public Health teaching in our summer programs. The school gives letters of citation to teachers of courses throughout the year. These are difficult to obtain. There are probably 250 courses offered by the school every year. Last year, 7 of our 15 summer PCE courses received ratings from the students that were so high that the faculty received these teaching citations. So I think we have the right faculty teaching the right courses for the students. But I think the main strength of our program has been its students, you guys. We are very lucky to attract a very highly qualified, very gifted set of students. You learn as much from each other as you learn from the faculty, in my opinion. I'm a big believer in peer education. The only comment that was somewhat negative that we received last year, even though the ratings for online teachings were very high, is that students missed the interaction, the networking that we had before when the program was on campus. So this year we are going to try even harder to build, give you guys an opportunity to get to know one another, to create study groups. We're going to be asking you, if you are taking our program before the program begins, to send us a little video about yourself that we'll post on our program's curriculum page. So that you'll know who's coming, know one another. With your permission, we'd like to be able to post on that page some information about yourself. For example, your email addresses and what courses you're taking, what your interests are. So we could facilitate the making of study groups. We'd like to organize some social events during the year. Again, this is going to be online. Everything is going to be online this summer at the Harvard School of Public Health. But we're going to try our best to get you guys to know each other, learn from each other, network with one another. So that's my big pitch for taking the program in clinical effectiveness. And before we open up the rest of the night to answer any questions, I'm going to ask the faculty again if they have any comments they want to add about anything I've said or anything I didn't say that would help convince you that this is a highly rated, appropriate curriculum excellent faculty program for you to consider to learn the skills to do clinical research. So Heather, Danny, John, Dave, anything you want to add, just unmute yourself if you're muted and speak up before I stop sharing.
I'll just reinforce what you said, Fran. I think that, you know, maybe one feature that you didn't highlight is that we have very lengthy surveys at the end of the course, at the end of the first summer period, at the end of the summer, and we take very seriously the comments, both the structured comments and the unstructured text comments that students give us, and we think it through and try to evaluate each of the courses and each of the aspects of the courses. So we're not stuck in the mud. We try to modify the course and evolve each year.
That's an excellent point, Dan. I'm glad you brought it up. I wanted to mention that in the early years of our program, when we didn't have as many afternoon elective courses, we would ask students every year, if we were to add a course next year, what would be the course you would recommend? And many of these courses that are listed here as our afternoon electives are there because prior students recommended that this would be a good course to add to our curriculum. And the other thing, you know, these are not static fields. What we taught, for example, in the introductory EPI course, you know, at the beginning of this program, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, is not what we're teaching now. We not only get feedback from our students about what courses to add, but also how to change our courses. And I can tell you that, you know, I think if you teach the same course, the same material year after year, students know you might be getting bored with it. So I think it's good to introduce new concepts and new lectures into our program. So, you know, much of this that we offer this year is because of the benefit of prior students recommending changes, additions, modifications to our program. Any other comments from, you know, John, Danny, Dave?
Well, I'm just going to point out that one course that we added this year is the machine learning course. President Biden just said today that he wants to spend 2% of gross revenues on science going forward. And there will be a huge emphasis on artificial intelligence if anything like that actually goes through. I think this is going to be a growth area. I will note that I kind of did the N of 1 trial. I tried doing research before I'd taken this course, and I really didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know which statistical tests to pick. I didn't know which statistical package to use. It was a lot of work. It was very difficult. And then doing it afterwards, I really felt like I knew what I was doing. And I think this is as good a course as there is that in terms of teaching you to do clinical research.
Okay, any other last comments from guys before I stop sharing? Yeah, go ahead, Heather.
There was something I was going to bring up anyway. I was going to make a little plug for EPI 208 and the proposal. And then a student in the group actually sent me a direct chat about this, which I'll sort of try to address because it's consistent with what I was going to say anyway. So one of the students asked me about the proposal that students work on as part of the EPI 208 course. How do you go about identifying topics? You know, were topics that sort of went on to be published or a grant received, did people come up with the idea prior to the PCE? So that's a great question. EPI 208, as I mentioned earlier, you know, you learn all of the core components of, thanks Fran, of epidemiologic studies, but a big component of the class is actually working on your own proposal, a mini grant proposal, as Fran said, about 8 pages, double spaced, where you propose a study. And the idea is that this works best if it's something that you're actually planning to do in the relatively short term. So in the next, say, year or 2 years. So it does certainly work best if you come in with an idea or two before you start the program. And so you guys are all ahead of the game in terms of joining this session and starting thinking about this early. Usually we send out more detailed information about EPI 208 as well as all the other courses in the program sometime before the end of May. And in that information, we tell you a little bit more about the EPI 208 proposal. We tell you to think about ideas ahead of time, ideally to discuss with colleagues or mentors ahead of time, so that when the course starts in July, you already have an idea or two in your head when you come in. And then throughout the course, and this is the point which I was originally planning to make anyway, there are about 60 faculty actually who are involved specifically in helping you think about your proposal. So there are a series of activities during the course that help you with that. So there are some small group workshops where students are in a group of 3 or 4 students with 1 faculty member. There are more formal presentations that happen later in the summer. There are individual office hours with faculty where you can meet one-on-one. All of those things were done via Zoom last summer, and I think worked fairly well that way. So there's basically lots of opportunities for feedback along the way on the EPI 208 proposal, but it is a really good idea. And again, the information that we send you in May, if you decide to come to the program, will emphasize this, that you should come with an idea or two in mind already so that when the course starts, you can really hit the ground running. So I spoke for a little bit longer about that, but I'm hoping that I addressed the question, and I was thinking that other people also might be interested in that. So I will stop there, Fran.
If I could add to that, Heather, I came to the School of Public Health in 1976, and I've known, what the epidemiology courses have looked like since then. There's no course like this, like EPI 208 at the School of Public Health. And I suspect there's probably no course like this at other institutions that has the applied nature of allowing every student to develop a protocol around a project that they want to do. And the only way we were able to do that is, as Heather mentioned, is to have such large number of faculty members holding office hours, holding small group workshops, listening to your oral presentations of your proposal, giving you feedback on your written document that you hand at the end of the summer. There's definitely a hands-on nature to this particular course that makes it special. So even if you've had introductory epidemiology in the past, chances are very likely that you haven't had a course like this, especially if you've taken like epidemiology as a medical student. Chances are it was very superficial. I would not recommend passing over taking the core courses this summer, repeating the epidemiology and the biostatistics. The topics have changed over time. So you might be hearing new topics, but you're definitely going to be given more opportunities to develop a project around a topic that you want to address. I think that's one of the features that makes this program so special. Okay, John, anything you want to say? You're the only person who hasn't said anything before I stop sharing.
The questions that are popping up are quite relevant, so I'll be really quick. Just to point out that, again, same theme. People have taken biostat courses or parts of them before, but doing it at the right moment is the critical part. And so when you're ready to launch into research, that's when the ideas make the most sense. And a lot of people walking out of the program say that they've done the biostat and EPI before, but it never really stuck with them. But now it's the time when the ideas really make sense to them.
Great, guys. So I'm going to stop sharing, and let's now start addressing what questions you might have. And I take it Heather and John, maybe, Caroline, have been already looking at, there are 14 comments in the chat room, so maybe we should start with the chat questions. Has anybody who's been looking in the chat room, is there a question that we have not addressed so far?
There are a bunch. And one is, how do you pick which afternoon course is right for you?
Well, what we will do in my understanding is you select courses starting in early June. Caroline, it's like June 3rd, I think, or something like that. Is
June
that your
3rd is registration at
Right.
11 a.m.
Yeah, so that's when it begins. You can register after that. You can change your courses up until the add drop period ends a couple of days after the courses begin. But you probably want to select your courses early, ideally on June 3rd, because some of the afternoon courses will fill up and you might not be able to get into your first choice. What we will do, probably a couple of weeks before that beginning, before the June 3rd start date, we don't want to do it too early, is we will hold another information session where we'll talk more about the courses. But we also have information about these courses on our website. We're also happy to answer questions tonight if we can about any of these afternoon courses or later by email. And we can always give you the email addresses of the faculty of a particular course in case you want to talk to them to get more details about that. Dave is one of our faculty members who teaches an afternoon course. It probably shares some typical features of other things. Anything you want to say about your course, Dave?
No, I mean, I teach the informatics course. I think it's a great course. If you think you're going to be getting information out of clinical systems, it's a very good course. There are a couple questions about R. One of the questions, maybe this is a good one for you, John. Do any of the courses focus on using R?
Only the new course in August, the machine learning course, that'll be based on R. In July, Biostat, my course in July, in the notes will be SAS printouts. But during July, you'll have an option in the morning to either learn about SAS, learn about Stata, or learn about R. So there'll be 3 morning sessions during July. You can do all 3 of them. You can choose one of them. You can do the July course in any of the 3 languages. In August, there'll be a course in Stata. There'll be a course in SAS covering same material, different language. And then machine learning will be in R. And my understanding is the instructor will also basically start from the beginning. So although you will be introduced to R from sort of the statistics perspective, you'll also be introduced to R from the machine learning perspective.
A question about how are students evaluated? If the courses are graded, although there's also a pass-fail option, and how you're evaluated depends on the individual course.
And if I could add to that, I mean, we have 2 types of students taking our courses. Some of you are starting a degree program at Harvard on July 1, and this is beginning of your academic involvement in that program. The courses you will be taking, you'll be receiving credit towards those degrees. Many other of you are not in a degree program, and the credits you earn from the summer program and the tuition you pay into the summer program can be rolled over into a future degree program at Harvard if you decide to apply. The school will give you 5 admission cycles to apply to a degree program. And if you are accepted, it's not 100% guarantee, but the batting average in the past of our people who have taken the PCE and then applied to the School of Public Health for degree programs has been very, very, very good. And so if you do well in our courses, I think your chances are well of getting into a degree program if you decide to do that in the future. And if you do, the tuition you pay towards the program in clinical effectiveness and the credits you earn can be rolled into that degree program. Essentially, you get about 1/3 of a degree program completed by taking the program in clinical effectiveness. So that's something to keep in mind. And as Dave mentioned, you can be graded either on an ordinal scale or on a pass-fail basis. Every summer in our orientation, we usually make a statement, but we would recommend that if you might be applying to a degree program at Harvard in the future, you take your courses graded for an ordinal grade, because a very high ordinal grade carries more weight than a P, because person reading an application doesn't know whether a P meant you had the highest grade in the class or you had the lowest passing grade in the class. So if you are considering going on for a degree at program at Harvard in the future, you might want to take courses for an ordinal grade. If you're not, you can take courses for a pass-fail grading in the summer.
There's a question. If we have time with a non-degree PCE, can you take up to 20 credits? I would not suggest doing that. It's just too hard. It's too much intensive stuff. Heather, do you want to add?
Yeah, I don't actually think the registrar would. I agree with what you said, Dave, and I would also say I don't think the registrar will allow you to register for more than 15 credits during the summer. What some students do, though, which is maybe slightly related to what Fran was just saying, is that if you're currently a non-degree student, you can take 15 credits, a full course load over the summer. And then if you're an affiliate, so at one of the Harvard teaching hospitals, you could take an additional 5 credits after that, and you can bring a total of 20 credits into a degree program if you applied later on, if that makes any sense. But you can't take 20 credits during the summer is what I'm saying. So you could take 15 in the, in the summer and then another 5 in the fall and bring all of those credits into the degree program.
What I'm trying to get, but again, the Zoom window is blocking my, oh, here it is. Let's see if I can pull this up. I just want to give the students an idea of what previous students have said about the workload involved in this program. Caroline, you had sent me something this morning about that, or this afternoon. Let's see if I can find it, just to show you one screen there. This was a survey we did of our students at the end of the summer last year. And we were asked the questions, on average, how much time did you spend on homework weekly? And you can see here that the answers were categorical: less than 10 hours a week, 10 to 20 hours a week, or more than 20 hours a week. And it looked like, 7 of the 116 responses, 77 of them said 10 to 20 hours a week, and 15 said less than 10, and 24 said more than 20. The more work you can put into these courses, the more you'll get out of them, but there is a definitely time commitment to taking the program in clinical effectiveness, especially if you're taking 15 credits. If you have heavy clinical responsibilities this year, maybe COVID-19 related, maybe taking less than 15 credits might be something to consider. But keep that in mind when you decide how many credits to take. And as Heather mentioned, I don't think it's possible to take more than 15 credits from the registrar's point of view, but it's, as Dave mentioned, it's really nothing we would recommend. It's gonna almost be impossible because almost all of our afternoon elective courses are taught at the same time. And even though they're online, you can't be in 2 places at one time. So I just wanted to pass that information along to you, so I'll stop sharing.
Fran,
Okay.
there was a question, I was just backing up. There was a question that was asked early on in the chat that I think might have been addressed, but I was not positive. The question was about, are there syllabi that will be shared to help read about the different course offerings? I mean, I know the short answer is yes, every course has a syllabus, but I wasn't sure exactly. I wasn't sure that we typically send those to students. I guess the question is what gets sent prior to registration?
Harvard University started a new system 2 years ago of posting, giving the students during the add drop periods, the access to syllabi of all the courses, if the faculty agree to that. What we will do this summer is we'll ask all our faculty if we can post their syllabus on our Canvas homepage that you all have access to. And if a faculty member approves that, and I hope they do, you'll be able to look at all the syllabi before you select your courses. We'll do this prior to that June 3rd start date. So based on the information session we'll have, the posting of information on the Canvas page, what we have already on our web page, answering questions by email, you can email individual faculties. We'll do our best to give you a good idea of what all our elective courses look like, and plenty of time to make a reasonable decision. Okay. Does anybody see any other questions in the chat room that we haven't discussed so far? And if you put a question in the chat room that we haven't answered, here's an opportunity if anyone wants to just unmute themselves and speak up if they want to ask a question. But you know, remember, you can always put something into the chat room. So let's open the floor up if anyone has a question they want to just speak up about.
Sam, you could just asked a question about saying for those people who are vaccinated, would it be possible to meet at least once? And we're hoping to do that. We have to get clearance from the school before we do it, but we would definitely like to be able to do that too.
Yeah, I mean, these are trying times, as you guys know. The school, we received an email today from the Dean for Education at the Harvard School of Public Health announcing that they will be holding courses on campus in the fall semester that starts at the end of August. And so hopefully there might be the facilities available for us to do something on an optional basis towards the end of the summer, maybe at the school, so we can meet with one another. But we're going to do our best to do anything we can virtually with you to help improve the network among yourselves. And but we'll just have to wait to see what the school says about on-campus gatherings in August. Any other questions? Again, put them into a chat room. I have trouble talking and walking and at the same time, so I'm not really looking at the chat room myself, but I have a feeling the other faculty are, and Caroline is doing it too. So if any of you guys see a question, please bring it up and feel free to answer them yourselves if you have them.
Heather, do you want the one part-time credits? Since you might actually.
Oh, I
give a
thought I
correct answer.
answered.
Okay.
Okay, wait. I sort of answered it, but I might as well bring it up anyway, in case people didn't see it. So there was a question from Anvesh about, can you please tell how part-time works? Just curious how they take credits. I'm assuming that this is a question about students who are going into the MPH in clinical effectiveness as part-time, which many students in the MPH in clinical effectiveness do. So if you are going into the MPH in clinical effectiveness, I should have said at the beginning that I'm the lead of that program. It does have academic year and summer only options. So summer only students typically take most of their courses during the summer, although there is some opportunity to take things during the academic year as well, but in kind of a limited way. For academic year students, you can basically take courses anytime during the year. So summer, fall, spring, winter session, which actually summer only students also have access to. If you're part-time, which again is true of most of our students in the academic year program, it basically means you can take, except for during the summer when you take 15 credits, during the fall and the spring, you have to take less than 15 credits essentially during each semester to be considered part-time. If you're 15 or more credits, that's considered to be full-time. So the summer is a little bit different than during the academic year. But many academic year students, again, are part-time. Typically, they finish the degree in 2 to 3 years, depending on, how part-time they are. But it tends to work fairly well, I think, for many students where they're taking, a class or two per semester in addition to working or doing research or whatever else you might be doing. So hopefully that addresses the question about part-time.
And if I could add to that, I guess like 25 years ago or so, we developed 2 degree programs at Harvard School of Public Health for our non-local students. We have now a summer only, as Heather mentioned, Masters of Public Health option for those who want to go after an MPH degree. We have a summer only Masters of Science in Epidemiology option. And basically those students take courses typically in 2 summers. In the past, people have come back in some cases for 3 summers worth of courses. Now we have online courses that these students could take during the academic year. These were the very first alternative scheduled degree programs at Harvard University. and they might be the only ones still existing. So, and in addition to that, around 20 years ago, we developed in the Masters of Public Health program at Harvard a concentration. There are various concentrations in that program called clinical effectiveness, which Heather is the faculty director of. It's the largest concentration within the MPH program for the academic year students. So we've tried our best to facilitate learning, not just during the program in clinical effectiveness. And we built that to be a standalone program. But if you end up wanting to use that as the starting point of your degree programs at Harvard, or later join a degree program at Harvard after taking the PCE, we've tried to make that as meaningful as possible in terms of an experience for you. And you can contact the School of Public Health if you have questions about those degree programs. You could send emails to us. We'll try to answer them if you have any. But you know, just keep that in mind that there might be life after the summer for some of you who want to take additional courses at the school. Are there other questions, comments?
There was one about the stat courses and the difference in August. Hard to say. The content of the STATA version and the SAS version are really exactly the same. It's a different instructor. So if you really don't like me in July, there's your opportunity to jump both. Other than that, you know, we'll have different styles of teaching. Brian's very lively, I'm very calm, but the content is the same. I'm betting you're going to go whichever way your friends go. That's what usually happens.
And as I say, we will say more about these courses later. You can also see information about them on the fall. I'm willing to bet that regardless of which courses you take in August, staying with John or switching to Brian Healy, in other words, it's mostly a SAS versus STATA split. Wouldn't you say, John? More than there's no change in content, and as John said, and both instructors are highly rated, and so I don't think
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, John. I was just going to say you're not going to be disappointed. And now shut up, John. Okay, go ahead.
I was going to say you don't have to make a choice until the end of July.
Yeah.
Between those two.
Fran, there's a question that Dave addressed in the chat, but I feel like it's still probably worth emphasizing this regarding kind of the hours for classes during the summer and what a typical day looks like. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, you know, life is different once we went online. You know, Zoom fatigue is real, and we realize that our typical student will be taking 3 classes a day. Each of these classes are 90 minutes long. We try our best in these 90-minute classes to, you know, realize people are watching, you know, us online. We try to give breaks during these classes at appropriate times. There are breaks between classes, but nevertheless, you would be typically watching 3 90-minute courses each day, Monday through Friday. There is an exception or two, like we offer a course in the afternoons in summer 2 on regression. I should make a plug for that course. Many of you will not be going on for degrees. And we always say at the very end of the summer, if there's one course to take after you complete the program in clinical effectiveness that really rounds off, I think, what you need to know to do clinical research, is you need more on regression. And usually a course on regression is taken after you complete a course on introductory biostatistics. But we know that some of you, this summer is your only summer maybe for taking courses. You're not planning on taking courses in the future. So that regression course we offer in the afternoon is open not only to returning students who have had a full year of biostatistics previously, but also people who are currently taking in the morning introductory biostatistics. And I can tell you that course is exceedingly highly rated. The instructor is really, really good. So if this is your one shot of learning, you know, statistics, you know, taking that afternoon course is an option for doing. I alternatively, I'd wait until after the summer to take that course if you're going on and taking future courses. But that just means that, again, you'll be probably, most of you, taking 3 classes a day, 90 minutes a day. And in addition to that, there are office hours, there are optional computer labs. You're going to be pretty busy during the summer if you take 3 courses a day. Nevertheless, remember, last year's students did this online and they rated the program exceedingly highly. So it's doable. It just requires, a fair amount of work on your part. And so we would recommend, if you can, to take 3 classes a day. In general, we record classes. We will send out a spreadsheet telling you how each class will be taught online this summer. What will be recorded, what won't be recorded, because we realize there are times you might not be able to attend a class. You can watch the recordings for classes you miss. So we will do our best to help you, make it through the somewhat, difficult schedule of taking 3 courses each day, 5 days a week, especially in an online environment. But again, it worked very well last year. And I just want to, put that plug in.
This is a sort of a piggyback question to your comment. How have PCE students with clinical responsibilities, perhaps other academic pursuits, balanced their time during the summer courses?
Well, I can tell you that in the past, in the early years, we required a letter from a division chief saying this student would be freed up of all clinical responsibilities during the summer. They would be doing nothing else but taking the program in clinical effectiveness. Over the years, we realized that just couldn't be held because some students and some clinical divisions, departments required students to do, some work, maybe moonlighting on weekends or things like that. So it's a balancing issue. We try to give you options of seeing recordings of classes for those you cannot make. But if you have a heavy clinical schedule, you might want to consider taking less than 15 credits and just taking the morning courses. As I say, last year, I showed you that survey result. The majority of people said they spent 10 to 20 hours a week on homework. If you don't have 10 to 20 hours a week outside of those classes to spend on this program, you might want to take less than 15 credits. Also keep in mind that some students said they spent more than 20 hours. The workload changes a little bit in the afternoon, depending which course you take. Some have heavier workloads than others. Traditionally, the decision analysis course offered in the afternoons in July had a heavy workload, and we would warn people about that. So that's a course you might want to avoid if you don't have the extra time to put into the course. But I suspect all of you have different schedules in the summer. And the options you can do is to, as I say, take less than 15 credits or to try to catch up on weekends and things like that by watching recordings.
I'll mention for Biostat at least, a schedule is very flexible. So everything is recorded. If you can't watch synchronously, it's there waiting for you. You have a week to do the 2 homeworks. You have a week to do the final exam. So if there's a day or hours where you're busy, it's not hard to work around it, but eventually the work's got to be done. So flexibility is there, but it is take a lot of effort.
Thank you very much.
We're getting close to the hour, but are there any last questions, either in the chat room that you think we have not answered? Just speak up. Or if anyone wants to speak up and ask a question. Again, we'll have another session on courses later in the spring in advance to that course enrollment period. We're there to answer email questions. You can send them in to us and we'll try to address them or refer them to faculty if you have specific questions about courses. But is there anything last questions from anyone before we call it an evening? Okay, any last comments from any of the faculty or Caroline? Okay,
There's one. Wait,
there is
Fran,
one.
do you recommend PCE before residency? How about you on that one, David?
Yeah.
usually best to do it after residency and during your fellowship.
Yeah.
We've made a very rare occasional exception, but we discourage that.
We had the chief of chair of the Department of Medicine give a seminar a couple of weeks ago on the Department of Epidemiology. And she's a clinical epidemiologist. And she said she would, when she was at Penn, she would teach clinical epidemiology to med students. And she said they would not come to my class because they were studying for an exam in another field. And they wouldn't listen to me when I said that my course, clinical epidemiology, was maybe the most important course you need to know to become a good doctor in the future. Definitely if you want to be a clinical researcher in the future. But the point is, and I think one of the faculty members mentioned this earlier, the timing to take these courses should be close to the timing you can apply them in practice. You know, long-term memory will leak out of your head. And if you learn something in the summer and you have a heavy clinical load for the next couple of years, then this is not a good match. We're not a good match for you. And that's why we, as Dave mentioned, with only a few exceptions, we don't recommend this. We don't take interns or first year junior residents or things like that. We're looking for people who have a year off to do clinical research in their fellowship program or residency program. We're looking for junior faculty members who have protected time to do research, because you want to apply these skills soon after you take that. You want to hit, Labor Day weekend. After that, after you come back from your short vacation this summer, with your feet on the ground running to start doing research, maybe applying some of the projects you designed during our program. So that's the reason we limit our application to certain types of people in training. Okay, last comments, questions? I see Marion's back. Okay. I'm going to shut up. Anybody else want to say anything? Okay, Marion, you want to say goodbye to everybody or what?
Maybe I'll just say, feel free to email us, anytime between now and then if you have additional questions.
Yep. Thanks everybody
Absolutely.
for joining us. Yeah.
Thank you all for coming.
Bye-bye,
good night.
everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.